Let's do that. Okay, let's start. Welcome, everybody, to my podcast, Building Resilience. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this show where we deep dive into the stories, the tools, and the expert insights that help us navigate life's toughest storms and come out stronger. I'm your host, Jose Pereira. I'm an author, I'm a leadership coach, I'm a survivor of my 5 year of captivity and imprisonment. And this series is about meeting with the experts who have turned pain into purpose. So today I'm honored to introduce a powerful voice of the world of transformation and healing that is Coach Judy Romanoff. She's an international recognized divorce and life transitional coach, a former Miss Florida, and the founder of the National Single Parent Resource Center. And her work has touched thousands of lives because for single parents to individuals navigating crisis and changes, Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jose. It's a pleasure to be on. I've been excited and the opportunity to share some valuable information, what ends up creating resilience. And I also just want to say I'm not of Florida. I forgot the term you used for the state of Florida. I'm Coach Judy, known locally, nationally, and internationally from all the various shows I've done, just so people know that there's no misunderstandings in today's times.
Okay, no problem. I found that, when you Google yourself, appears a lot of information because you have been networking and being in that stage during years. So let's begin with that story because you have a very interesting story. Tell me a little about how you began your journey, what led you to become what you are doing today? Because a divorce coach is a personal transformation person. How you got there? So talk about you, how you began. You're beginning to give your story.
Well, I think I'm going to surprise your audience because it's not well discussed, especially back in 1990. Okay. But I was betrayed, believe it or not, by my own mother, father, brother, and sister-in-law. Wow. They offered to help me when I was physically ill, having a hard time handling my children. Plus, I was facing 2 major surgeries. So it wasn't easy, and you're trying to do everything, your body is wearing down. So I accepted their temporary help. Unfortunately, and this happens an awful lot, is that they don't tell you really what their full intentions are. And that I said about for school, for medical care and child support, I knew I needed signed papers so that my brother, who was actually living in another city in Florida, could actually enroll her and handle those things since I wasn't right there. And then 9 months later, and with doctors saying she's fine, she's been released, I'm in the best health I had been in 10 years, I called my brother and I said, I've been released. I'm ready for my daughter to come home. I'd like to have her come home soon. Let's make arrangements. And I wanted the process to be a smooth process for her. What do you think he said, Jose?
No, can I imagine?
He said, go tell it to the judge.
Wow.
And then I called my former husband, who wasn't able to help with the full time of doing it. And I said, you call him. He got the same thing. That's when my life blew up, literally blew up. The life I had known for 39 years was over. Wow. I had no idea what I was going to do, how, where, who. I knew nothing. This was taken back because I had a family that was very supportive. They were really great parents to me. I was even fortunate enough to have a very successful father who provided for me as an adult very nicely. So I never questioned any of these things. I was, what you say, codependent. Well, hearing those words and having to go out, there went the codependency because it was just me. And what do I do? And I then, fortunately, through calling people and getting names, I found an attorney. And he was able to win my case 2 years later for my daughter to return home.
Wow, wow. What gave you strength that moment? And because the life changed really drastically for you. It was not only surviving, but because you transformed that pain into a mission to help others. This is incredible. Tell me about that.
Well, what it is, it's like, ironically, my mother sent me an article on mothers without custody when I was going through it. And I called up because I was so alone. And I reached out to them, and they're having a major convention down in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm only a half hour away.
Mm-hmm.
And I called up because I had no choice. It was like, it's a matter of life, death, survival. And I had to call a stranger and say, I'm a mother without custody. I'm finding family. I'd like to come to your convention. I went to the convention. I walked out as a coordinator for the group for Palm Beach County, Florida, back in the beginning. And that was the beginning of being able to survive, because I had support. As you know, support is so important. Yeah. And it's also gaining knowledge from others besides the legal system. And as a result of doing that, I said, I know I was going to be successful. I had it in my heart because I was a good parent. I did the best under the circumstances. And also they were aunt and uncle, basically. And I started the National Single Parent Resource Service as a profit, and then in '94 converted to a nonprofit. And because I wanted to help not just moms who were without custody, but I wanted to help single parents in general. And I also wanted to bring in resources. So you don't have just the information, but you've got people to go to for the help, and then also do individual coaching and divorce classes and support groups to help parents get connected with the right information and to feel good and transform that anger, that fear, and all those negative emotions into something positive, because they had knowledge they would not have had I not started the group back then.
So you really transformed that pain into a purpose.
I had to. It was like, how do you survive? My parents, when my daughter came back, my family had nothing to do with me. My son had nothing to do with me. I even had to contact and go to my son's high school to find out where he was even going to college. So I really was on my own. And it was like, I have to do this. How am I going to keep as I say, if you don't keep your mental health together, you're going to lose everything, because it starts with the mind. And over the years, I graduated into different mottos, different sayings for coping, and it led to where I am today.
I'm hearing you, and it's incredible, because many of our listeners, the people I have in my community, are people that sometimes are having those identity crisis, trauma, divorce, betrayals, imprisonment, because I have been connected, people have been in prison. People have lost their jobs. So how do you help all these people that you have in your community rediscover what it feels like? It's so after having their life being shattered. And talk a little bit about that.
Well, it was really about bringing people together. It was like, I couldn't be alone. I always loved people. I always enjoyed, and I also learned I had a knack early on that people would say, I tell you things I've never told anybody else. So in some respects, there was a purpose for me to go through this and to really find what my calling really was, and how to use my intelligence that my family did not recognize, and use it and help people. People need to have this knowledge. And if you don't, you could end up mentally ill, an addict. You could end up committing suicide. I don't want to see any more people doing it. So I really felt like now over the last couple of years, it's like I am really turning negatives into positives, or being a catalyst for igniting positive thoughts and actions into achieving success personally and professionally, because the tools I use for the single parents that doesn't relate to the divorce court itself and those issues, but as a human being and being who you are, and also learning how to value you on the inside and begin that process of healing. People are beat up. When you say in prison, I felt in some respects, that was 2.5 years I was in prison because I had no outlet outside of some aunts and uncles who supported me. And it was like, the world I knew was gone. So it's like, I'm trying to build a life. I'm trying to win my daughter back and give her back, which I thank God I had done. And it's like an evolution in essence for me. And for helping people, it's like, I say to people today, because I'm much older when I started, I was 40 years old when I started with the custody battle. And I said, I will do this until I can no longer speak. People need the knowledge. They need the support. And let me just say that you don't have to be a single parent to take advantage of the knowledge that I can share to help you learn how to turn those negative things that are happening and how to give a new mind shift in thinking. How can I just like, what is positive? I went through an extremely difficult period of time many years ago, and I didn't know where I was going to end up. And I said, how am I going to get through this new challenge? And it was, thank God I had those challenges of fighting my family. And I found that I had to think about only in the moment. Right now I'm here and I'm living and I've got a roof over my head and I'm doing something about it. So it's getting people to come back to that very foundation of a second, a moment becomes a minute, becomes an hour, becomes, 1 day, 2 days. And it's focusing on what is in the present that's positive. I mean, you may not like your situation, you may hate the situation. I personally hated the situation I found myself in later on, and thank God it's over. But it was like, how do I cope? Because everything is about how do you cope, what are your coping skills are. And it was like, okay, I'm going to make it. And I am doing the shows, I'm doing what I can in spite of it. And I will keep it going, as I said before. Unless I can't talk or function, I will keep it going to whatever level I can. And now I'm bringing in other people into the nonprofit. And as a matter of fact, I have a woman I reached out to who is starting a single parent walk group. I contacted her, and now she's come on board and do it under the nonprofit National Single Parent Resource Center. And now 4 new people know each other just from her and my reaching out.
I'm hearing you. Well, you're answering my next question because this program is called Building Resilience, and you have helped hundreds of parents, single parents, and also people going through divorce. All this emotional and mental toll. So how you make them build resilience in the darkest time? What is your recommendation?
The darkest time is start thinking about you. What have you got? Not what other people tell you, but what you can find value in yourself. And when you're all alone, you've got to reach in. And when you're going through hard time, it's very difficult, but you've got to reach in and think, I'm a good person, or I'm an angry person, but I want to change it. That in itself is a beginning to acknowledge I'm angry, but I want to change it. Where can I go to change it?
Yeah. One of the things, Coach, that I really admire in you is the passion that you have in what you're doing, because you begin as a personality in the shows. You were talking, so you were using your voice. Now you're a speaker, you're a coach, you have a nonprofit. So what gives you courage to keep going, to keep moving?
I think survival. I will tell you this, and I haven't announced it before, but maybe this is the show to do it on. 54 years ago, a month before I was getting married, my uncle, who is a doctor, diagnosed me with fibrositis. It is a chronic lifetime condition that causes all kinds of issues of pain, fatigue, you name it, it does it to you, and it complicates it as you get older because you have normal aging issues. And it was like, I have to go. I will not let that be the control over my life, like others will allow fibromyalgia and the other physical conditions to keep them down, laying around, complaining, And I say, I won't do that. I'm going 54 years, August, my uncle diagnosed me with it. And it's a condition that a lot of people treat as mental disorder. And I will say that if it's a mental disorder, then why, with my family having my children having to fight, did I end up in the best health possible when they corrected the 2 physical conditions I had?
Wow, wow, incredible. Let's talk about your faith.
Yes.
What role has the faith in all this, what you're doing, the spiritual grounding, and how you help your clients, the people that you're helping?
I think it's my heritage, my background. I am Jewish. I went through, consecration, confirmation, Sunday school, Saturday school from the time I was like 5 years old. And that stayed within me of what family is. And having to see that my family is not the same family that it once was, but that indoctrination of caring and giving back and doing is what I'm doing now. In some ways, you could say I am doing, God's work, the rabbi's work, whatever religion you are, I'm doing that work because I'm bringing hope, I'm bringing opportunity, and I'm bringing positive energy that we all need to have and find. And when I do the shows, I am happy, I'm excited. If I'm down, doing a show gets me excited. So it's finding those things that make you feel good, that you focus on. It's different for everybody. And people will say to me, Judy, I don't know how you did it. Or Judy, I don't know how you're still going at it. I mean, look at your age, you're still going at it. And I said, I love what I do. So why give it up? And that love, I think of family, of my faith, was often we had family holidays when we were all together. And when it was possible being down in South Florida and the other family moved down, and then my parents were able to have me part of the family down here at some of the holidays, I was able to be, again, a part of those holidays. And then even when my parents passed, with my aunt and uncle that were still here before they left, I still got to do the Jewish holidays.
Well, now that you're talking about the Jewish, I was talking with a guy recently. I always talk about that. During my captivity, I had the opportunity to read a book of Viktor Frankl, Men in Search of a Meaning. And exactly, he was talking about all that, tribulation, the suffering that was going the Jewish people in the concentration camp.
Right.
And when he wrote his book, that I could have the opportunity to read it during my captivity, how he was saying that you can find purpose in the pain. And the people that survived was that really found their purpose. So hearing you and all with all your strength, because your community has a lot of strength. I had the opportunity to meet in September. I was invited to an event in the United Nations, and I could meet the people that were going through the hostage situation in the Middle East. And a couple of weeks ago that I was in Washington, some of them were there too.
Oh, that's great.
And let me tell you, it's incredible, the resilience of all those families, how they have created that movement to support and to push to bring back yesterday was released
right. I saw that yesterday. I saw that on the news. I was so happy to hear that.
Well, I had the opportunity, Coach, I had the blessing that I could hug them and pray for them. So
that's wonderful.
And because I admire all the strengths, and when I see all what they are doing, because your community has that strength that it's biblical. It's really biblical.
Well, I think it's ingrained in us because with the Jews and the concentration camp and Nazism and all of that, it was ingrained to stand up and to fight, but fight the right way. And that's the problem. A lot of people don't know how to even fight the right way, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
They don't have the communication skills.
Yeah. So now that you're talking about your show, the show for my audience is called the Coach Judy Show. So let's talk about your show. How you begin to doing it? How long have you been doing it? And talk about it.
All right. Well, I started by somebody saying to me, Judy, why don't we get on the talk show? So I started calling radio stations. And I had, again, everything I've done, I never did it before. I was a very, how should I, quiet person. I was outgoing, but I never thought media or any of that stuff. I mean, I lived in a bubble until all this happened, in essence, literally. And I said, all right, I'll call. So then, actually, I have to step back for a moment. One of the big things that started all rolling with the media and my show is that I thought if I was able to get a story out about what's happening to me and my family was doing, that my family being prominent would want to not go through that again and have their name put out in the news. Well, I was wrong. That just aggravated them to, fight even harder and to be meaner. And as a result, I started doing interviews because I was involved with Mothers Without Custody here that I was starting. So you have to reach out to the media to get them to know about it. So once my story was out and I got involved with the group, I had to contact the different media stations to let them know that Mothers Without Custody organization is here in Palm Beach. I'm facilitating the support group, and we want to be able to help single parent moms at that point and dads who I got to know who were fighting for custody. And that was the beginning of dealing with the media. And then being on so many different talk shows, I had somebody at the beauty shop say, how would you like to do a TV show? I didn't know about money. When I heard these figures of what's going to cost for production, I'm thinking, oh God, I can't really handle that. Although there was somebody else, it was all new to me, and I can't do it. Then a former reporter contacted me and said, Judy, he said, how would you like to do a radio show together on single parenting? I'm like, oh, that's quick and easy, and I've got somebody to do it with. And actually, because of him is how I ended up with my own Coach Judy radio show with iHeart that used to be Clear Channel in 2002 to 2007. And that is how it started, out of need, out of desire, out of wanting to make a difference, were the driving forces behind. And I also enjoyed, of course, some of the recognition for what I've done. Who doesn't like, to be recognized for what you've done? And then actually the therapist who told me to call the radio show early on, she got involved with this group I was involved in for children. And she said to me, here's a group, you may want to call them. I called them. It was called Parenting Coalition International. And I then went, and then also were doing a contest. You can fill out and maybe be recognized and honored nationally. So I took all my newspaper articles, everything that I had done, and sent them a real packet. So when I was there for the first time for this conference on parenting, they announced at the dinner who is going to be receiving the different awards. And I was going for media because here I'm somebody who didn't know anything about media, and I built all this media coverage. I should go for the media one, not realizing they're talking about stations, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as a result, I figured, I didn't get that. Okay. All of a sudden I heard, and the Phoenix Award goes to Judy Romanoff. Because before that, I wasn't quite Coach, not really going by Coach. And I was like, huh? What, me? Unbelievable. And the irony is, when I went to Washington to receive it 6 months later, 2 out of the 3 TV stations covered it. And I'll never forget, the one reporter said, what do you think? I said, me, Judy Romanoff from Toledo, is going to Washington? Because that was like my perception of, I was somebody, but I wasn't somebody. And here, this horrible nightmare that was destroying my life became the positives and opportunities for me as an individual to learn and grow and help and have a quality of life.
That's what God does. That's exactly what God does. Use your testimony and become a strong tool. That's what happened to me too. That's what happened to me.
That's why I understand. When you were on my show, it says, I feel your feelings. I felt those feelings. It's like, doesn't matter what your trauma is. If you are scared and you are frightened and things are so unbelievable, we all feel those same things of those traumas. from different points of view. But still, in some respects, we're doing the same kind of things, but we're doing it alone until we meet others.
I remember when my book, my book got the recognition, the international award, and in the best true memoir. The same thing when I received the award, I was like, what? So when I went to Phoenix, it was in Arizona. I was in the, was a red carpet, a real red carpet,
right.
and so now I see the Fox, CBS, and all these guys there, and when I'm in the stage, I was like, what am I doing here?
You've had a phenomenal since I met you. I follow. I think you're a fantastic person. We share so much. It's like unbelievable. But I will tell you this: my next goal really is to get on CNN, national NBC, national CBS, national MSNBC, and MSNBC, all these shows, because what they're talking about is missing the fundamental of human being.
Yeah.
What makes a human being, and provide some tips to recognize what you can do. Yeah. No matter what, because I feel it for people in the country here. I feel it too of what's going on, and it's how do we cope? And it's like doing the best that I can. It's not like I can go out and advocate wearing the hat that I do, but it's like I want to be on these stations and on these talk shows, and I want to give them the knowledge that their audience needs. It's like, for example, instead of saying you are terrible, you did a terrible thing, you're not nice to me, you're going to get into trouble, it would be more like, it's my opinion. I feel that this is where we've got an issue. Maybe we can talk about it, and taking all that anger, diffusing it, and turning it around.
Yeah, correct. Now that you're talking about advocacy, as I said, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Washington to, there's an event that is called the Hostage Awareness Week. By the way, this is the flag, the hostage flag.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, this is the hostage and we'll run from the 10th flag. This flag that you see here today is a national flag. It's official flag. It was approved by the Congress. 80 families were behind this flag, and my family was part of the 80 families. So there's a lot of pain behind this. I had the opportunity to see how they were raising the flag, because today, every time a hostage is returned to the U.S., this flag is raised in the national building, federal building. So I had the opportunity to see that. But there's a lady that I admire her a lot. Her name is Miss Diane Foley. She has a foundation called the James Foley Legacy Foundation. She started her foundation after the pain that her son was beheaded by ISIS on national TV. James Foley, I don't know if you remember his case. He was a journalist that 12 years ago was kidnapped by ISIS, and he was beheaded.
I remember that story. But I remember that story. I heard beheading. I couldn't believe it.
Well, okay, Miss Diane Foley started the foundation after that. And today is a national foundation that she's a great advocate, and also is working hard to change national legislation. I know that you have been in the same path. So doing that and doing advocacy. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, say that again.
About your advocacy and
my advocacy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have to tell you, I didn't bring it over. I didn't think of it. I have my Phoenix Award, and that has gone with me every place and always was by my bedside. Because when I went through some of the tough times, it's like, look what I have done and achieved is I got the Phoenix Award. I also have a video that is now online for Florida residents that if they're going to be dealing or going with the divorce issues, they can actually go to the website and even see what we have to offer, because I took the video that was produced in 2002 on communication, on best interests of the children, and on how to talk and hire a lawyer, for example.
Okay.
And it's like, it's there in front of me. It's there reflecting. This is what the things I have done and why I must keep going.
Wow.
So I hear you.
There is a question that because we're coming almost to the end. There's a question that I have been making to all my guests, because again, all my guests are expert in some line of expertise of, but there is always some particular case that always keeps you thinking and sometimes breaks your heart. What is that case that you have had during all these years that had broken your heart?
Well, actually, one was just recent. A mother called me through our a 211 line, and she's sharing me with her story and that she is homeless. She lived in her car, but she had difficult family. And that was part of it. Also, the fact that she was living in a car. And I said, I got to do something. I identify with this woman in many different ways. I've got to do something. And I've never done this. But out of my own, I said to her, let me give you some food that I've got, and I'll give you some money. And that's exactly what I did. Wow. And I think it tugged on my heartstrings because it reminded me of so much of my life in different ways. It was like I couldn't not offer her something. I think that was the most touching because I guess right now it was recent and I did it and I didn't have to do any of it.
Wow.
And I did it. And then the other ones are the stories where they are fighting to get their child back. They've done nothing wrong, but it's the other side has the money, the attorneys, and that type of stuff. Those are the heartstrings because that was my situation, but I lucked out with the attorney I had. And he worked with me in spite of the fact that he never really got his full amount of money.
So you have a lot of experience handling single parents and people going through divorce. What would be 3 simple tips that you will give to somebody that's going through a situation like that?
If they're going to be entering the family court system, because it's those who are not married that have children as well, is first put the anger to the side. Focus on what's in the best interest of your children is number one and paramount to everything. Number 2, think about how are you going to communicate and how are you going to fight? Are you going to fight with anger or are you going to fight to mediate and resolve it? Because I will say children are damaged when these things happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lifetime. Thank God, once my family had passed away, unfortunately, I've had a great relationship with my kids for now 12 years without any separation from them.
Wow.
So that is why I say about focus on how you're going to communicate. The third one, I would say, think about yourself. You need to think about you and not forget about you, because in the long run, you're going to resent if you didn't take time for yourself. Take an hour, 2 hours, and do something that you can enjoy, whether it's leaving home and just going to the store, whether it's taking a book. Think about your mental health first, in essence, so that you can stay strong and you can do whatever becomes necessary, and also to get the right tools that you need in these areas before you even hire the lawyer. No, as I say to people, I said, when they come in, I said, you need to realize something. You're paying that lawyer. So think about it. If you're paying somebody, who's working for you? Are you paying somebody to work for you? Then you need to understand the legal system and how to work with your lawyer so that you're in control as a team with your lawyer, not being told what to do because you're so vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
So I would basically say, reach out to, I don't want to do a commercial. I said, but reach out to somebody like myself. Get that knowledge you need before you go to hire the lawyer. Because once they get involved, they know how to work it in many different ways is the best way I can put it.
Well, it's a very, very great advice. When you were talking, Coach, about the homeless, I did an interview that was aired yesterday with this guy that is from this big trauma center, and he's a great advocate for the homeless. He has been doing years, and he wrote his book. It's called Into the Gaps. And so he was telling me something that really caught my attention, that he said that 74% of the person that are going to a homeless situation had a trauma when they were kids.
Yes.
And almost the 60% of them get homeless after 50 years. So that means that many of these people have a life before being homeless.
Right.
And sometimes the people they humanize them, but these people have a real life. That some of them, that when they can recover themselves, sometimes some they don't do it, but when some of them recover, they have had a life. So the people
right.
don't think about this. And to tell you the truth, it really impacted me, because you never see a person that is in a corner as a homeless, asking for money. Sometimes you kind of think, oh, what he's going to do with the money? Maybe he's going to buy some drugs.
Right.
So thinking in the people as human beings is incredible.
It really is. I guess that's how I felt about this woman who reached out to me. I mean, it was just the identifying everything. It was like, wow, it brought me back to certain times of my life that I never would have ever expected, because I'm living a life could have imagined for me, or that I would ever be in this, have been in this warmth that I had. So it's like, you never know. It's like you think, oh, we're going to be that way, or that's never going to happen to me. But in today's times, very wealthy people have been scammed or lost their money. Their health changes. They cannot work the hours that they need to support themselves. And now rent is so sky high. And even renting started at $1,000 here in South Florida, rent a room. I believe. And it's like, what's going to happen? I know of somebody else, I've seen them, who is living under a bus route where they have bench and they have, the glass cover. That's where he sleeps.
Wow.
So you just never know. Again, you can be a very wealthy person. I would come from a very comfortable family. Never did I would be kicked out. My funds would be gone. And I would and have a physical disorder that limits me to what I can do. But we're all human. We just don't know. So never say that's never going to happen to me, because you don't know when you're young what's going to happen when you are in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. You don't know. So I would say, think of others and think that, that's never going to happen. But yeah, I know of Coach Judy. I know of her background, and never would have thought that she would have been in that situation for a short period of time. So you just never know.
We have so many things in common, because I went through that situation, that having everything one day, lost everything, and then you had to come back. And I tell today to the people that you never know when the things come, but that the way that you react is what's going to make the change. Your life, your story, and the mission that you're doing is really a live testimony of that. So that any situation doesn't break you. So you have rebuilt your life. So this show that is called Building Resilience, in one sentence, what is for you that resilience?
Can you say that again?
Resilience. What is resilience for you?
What is what?
Resilience.
Resilient is a couple things. It is learning to love, care, and respect yourself. If you really feel that way about yourself and you're giving, then it will come out on the outside, and that's going to draw the energy back to you and connecting with others.
Correct.
That's what I have found is the biggest lesson I have learned about energy and thoughts and who we are as an individual. It's that energy that you think and feel about yourself, because you are going to unintentionally display that negative in ways that you can't begin to imagine.
Wow. Thank you for the share. Well, my friends, this conversation has been incredible. If this touched your heart, please share the show with others. This a lot of wisdom, a lot of Incredible. To tell you the truth, I knew about you, but I was not so familiar with those details. Because one of the things that I'm loving with this show is that I have been guesting most of the people that today I'm bringing as guests, and I have connected with people like Coach Judy. But in this show, when they pour their souls and talk about the personal thing, that really is what really talks about the real human being. Because sometimes you see the people, but you don't see who is behind. And when you know where they come from, when they know why they do what they are doing, that gives you a lot of authority, and it's a blessing having you here today. So we're coming to the end. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes that you can talk about anything that you want to talk. I'm gonna put there your social media, your links, and well, talk about you.
Well, let me just say that what can I say about myself? I would say that I actually bought myself a Pomeranian, and I was thinking, what do I name it? And the Phoenix Award has such meaning to me because never would I thought I'd be honored nationally, let alone locally. And I got this dog, and I said, "What do I want to name?" I said, I'm going to name Phoenix.
Phoenix.
And she's going to be my mascot, and she's going to help uplift people in creating smiles because she's a reflection of what I'm all about. And a Phoenix is about rising up, and we want to help rise people up, no matter what it is, or rise you higher, and to really enjoy what you really can have out there, regardless of what your situations are. I will say that it's important to really think about life. Don't take advantage of it, value it, because you don't know how long you've got. And I basically enjoy being with people, talking on the phone, reaching out to new people. I want to take my career to the higher heights and be where I want to be. And also my mission with the nonprofit is that everything that comes in that I do goes directly to the nonprofit organization. I do not take any funds from it. I never did before, and I never will. It's about giving and helping because so many people need it, and bringing new people to get involved with the National Single Parent Resource Center here in Florida, because we're only registered in Florida. So we can only do work in Florida. But I, as Coach Judy, can, of course, go anywhere from that standpoint.
How many people can contact you?
Okay, they can contact me. My website is www.coachjudy.info, which has everything that we do, and it also has a special page for the National Single Parent Resource Center and the link to our original page or website that we cannot update. So we're hoping to find somebody who'll come in and maybe can do a new single parent website for us, like 1, 2, 3. But that's how we have it set. And CoachJudy.info is really a platform where I put all of my programs and things that I'm available to do and be a guest on shows and reaching out. My email address is coachjudylive@gmail.com, which is also the name of my talk show, Coach Judy Live. When we do the show, we're live. So we run it and we go with it. And if something comes up and gets in the way, well, that's what life is. Because I used to try to be so perfect. It was like driving me, nervous and stressed. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Things happen, and I'm just like everybody else.
Well, we haven't today. This show we had some technical issues at the beginning, and you were here.
Exactly, it works out. So I guess what I can say is I want to say I'm thankful for my 2 children and their maturity, and be able to have a relationship with them. My son is actually out in Egypt, Asia, all over traveling. My daughter here with my 2 grandchildren. One is graduating next week. And I just feel very lucky that I can keep going and that I maintained a healthy mindset because of the work that I do.
You're unstoppable.
What?
Unstoppable.
That's what they say. It's like, oh, I try.
Well, it has been a blessing. There has been a blessing having you. This show is coming to the end. Thank you for being here. I'm very honored to have you as a guest. And well, this is going to be aired in a couple of weeks. And Thank you for being here. One last minute to say whatever you want.
Okay. Jose, thank you so much for having me on and inviting me. It's been so enjoyable to talk with you. The excitement is great with you. It's wonderful. And I wish you the best of luck with everything that you're working on, because I know you will achieve the goals that you are achieving or working towards to achieving.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, saying this, coming to the end, I hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome to Building Resilience for the next show. Thank you, Coach Judy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
What if everything you knew about leadership was wrong? What if true leadership wasn't about power, but about service? The world is changing, and those who lead with impact and empathy are the ones reshaping the future. Welcome to the podcast experience, where influence is built on impact, and success is measured by the lives you transform. Today's world is in crisis. Leaders are disconnected. Businesses are crumbling. Employees are disengaged. Traditional leadership models are failing, and people are looking for something different. Leaders who serve, not dictate. A leader who empowers, not controls. A leader who listens before they speak. But here's the truth. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about action. It's about the legacy you build through the lives you touch. Now imagine a world where leadership looks different, where a CEO doesn't command from the top, but inspires from within, where managers don't control, but empower and uplift. This is the era of actionable servant leadership, and it's transforming businesses, communities, and lives. Lead by listening. The best leaders ask, "How can I serve you?" Before giving orders, seek to understand. Serve first, succeed. Second, true leaders put people first. When you uplift your team, success naturally follows. Empower, don't control. Replace micromanagement with trust. Give people the tools and freedom to excel. Actionable servant leadership isn't a theory. It's a superpower that unlocks human potential. The world is looking for leaders who serve, lead, and inspire. Will you step up? Will you be the leader who changes the game? This is your moment. This is your call to lead differently, serve boldly, and transform lives.